I'm Maria Leali with Synchronous Solutions. Today I'm here with Mark Phelps to talk about break even.
What's the most important number in business? It's that number where you go from your business is failing to your business is succeeding. We call that number break even. Now, in the game of business, it's really critical that we know our numbers because business is math. Money in, money out. We need to make sure that more money comes in than money goes out. So let's take a look at what these money ins and money outs are and how they come together for us to achieve the goal of business, which is profit. All righty. So as we dive into this, we need to understand that the goal of business is to break even, or else we must break even. We must do whatever it takes to get enough sales in the door, get enough customers, get enough money moving so that we can cover the investment that we made in getting into our business. We've got investment into property, we got investment into equipment, we got investment into intellectual property, we got investments into ourselves, we got investments into the team that we bring on. There's a lot of investments that we've made, and we got to make sure we've got the type of volume of business coming in so that we can get that return on those investments. Alrighty, so let's dive into a visual model of what's going on. The first thing we want to consider is what are the fixed costs associated with what we've got invested into our business, right? So these are the costs that are happening on an annual basis, quarterly basis. Most costs are monthly, and then some costs are even more frequent than that. For example, your payroll, a very big cost, may go out every couple of weeks. So we take all those costs, we pull them together into what we call our fixed costs, and we divide them out over time. So we've got a fairly flat line that is associated with the cost going out of the business. Now, the next thing we want to consider is when we bring money in, that comes in the form of revenue, right? So money comes in, but there's some additional costs associated with every sale. And we call those variable costs. So those are the cost of the sale, whether it's a commission, whether it's the cost of the goods sold, so the material costs associated with it. But there's some variable costs associated with every dollar that we bring in. All right. So we've got our fixed costs, we've got our variable costs, and we want to merge those into our total costs. And you'll see that here with the blue line. So we can get rid of those variable and fixed. So we've got our revenue line, which is purple. We've got our total expenses, which is blue. And over time, the revenue overtakes the total expenses. And boom, we've got our break-even point. Congratulations, here we are at some amount of sales, noted on the left axis, and over a certain amount of time into our year, into our quarter, into our month, into our day, we have break even. And the good news is everything following that break even is our profitability. All right. So break even with enough time left over so that we can make profits in the time period that we are working with. And you guys may know this. You had a great start to the year. You were ahead. You were making money. But then you had a rough end of the year, and perhaps that time disappeared. You weren't able to bring in enough money, and therefore your profit shrank by the end of the year. Maybe you weren't even making money. So we want to change that. We want to focus very heavily on what does it take to achieve break even to maximize the amount of profit in our business. Okay? Because it's really about the bottom line. We're talking about revenue, total expenses, but let's move that down and look at it from a net profit standpoint. See, 0 is our baseline. We need to take break even and get above 0. That's what it looks like. Everything that, if we don't get there, that's our loss. If we do get there, that's when we get to call profit. And of course, we monitor and take a look at, are we profitable? Are we losing? And what is our profit and loss each and every month, each and every year, so that we can have success in our business. All righty, there's your visual. Now let's talk about what are those variables and put some numbers to this. What do you say? So diving into calculating your break even, first you need to know your gross margin. So your gross margin is, it comes from, first you need your total sales revenue. All right, so that we'll call that A. you need your variable costs. We'll call that B. And then we'll calculate our gross income from that. So we take A minus B, so sales revenue minus variable costs, and we get gross income. Now we take our gross income and we divide it by our total sales, and that's where we calculate our gross margin. All right. So gross income is also known as gross profit. Our gross margin could be our gross profit margin, also known as our contribution margin. All right. So we have those numbers. Let's put some numbers to it. So our little business here does 8 million. All right. We have 2.8 million in variable costs. That is a gross income of 5.2 million and therefore a gross margin of 65%. So 65% of that 8 million is what we have to go cover our fixed expenses. So let's dive into the next piece here. We need to figure out the total sales required in order to break even on the fixed expenses, the fixed costs. So we need our fixed costs. Hopefully you guys track that and you're able to have a really close estimate of what your fixed costs are. Then we can calculate our gross margin or use our gross margin that we calculated above. And then we can calculate from that our break-even sales number. So put in the numbers. This business has 4 million in fixed cost, our gross margin of 65%. We'll take that, we'll take those fixed costs, we'll divide it by that 65%, and we get the number of sales required, the revenue needed in order to break even. So in this example, we'll call that F. It is 6,153,846 and 15 cents. So there you go, sales team, get to work. Go get us those sales. Now, obviously, we're going to want more than that because the goal is not break even. The goal is actually to profit. So let's talk about what we got to do. What are the minimum goals we got to set to get into that profitability range? All right. So how to get the break even sales? First thing we need to know is what is an average value for each sale that we do. We should be able to grab that from the number database that we have. Go ahead and call that G. Then we have the ability to calculate break-even transactions. Okay, so that is your F from above, right? So F is again our break-even sales. So we get our break-even sales and we divide that by our average value sale. And now we know how many transactions we need. Okay, the next thing we can look at is we take our average number of transactions per customer. Okay, so we'll call that I. So every customer, we've got a certain number of invoices associated with a customer. It's a great way to take a look at that from the data that you guys collect and hold on each sale that you do, right? So we'll call that I, and then we can calculate our number of customers by taking our break-even transactions, H, and dividing it by our average number of customers, I. That gives us J. All these are your reference letters so you can build the equation. All right, so let's apply the numbers. Average value sale in this example business is $4,800. So we do the math, and now we know we need 1,282 transactions in order to get break-even point. Awesome. So let's calculate what our average number of transactions per customers are. Hopefully we've got that. We can do that math, and we get, oh, it's 1.85. Well, very good. Now we know that we need 693 customers to achieve break-even. Now we've got to go get. Now we know exactly how many folks that our sales team needs to go get. Now there's a law of averages taking place here, so we want to be watching our numbers and updating our equations so that we can forecast and adjust appropriately depending on shifts in our mix of market. If we have multiple markets we serve, each market may come with different margins, different number of transactions, and the like at different average value sales. So we want to have a very close look on those numbers, but at a high level, here you have it. All right. Now, as a bonus, you can determine the number of leads that your marketing group needs to achieve in order for your sales group to be able to get the 693 customers they need. And what you need there is you need to know what your how effective your salespeople are at converting your leads, your prospects into paying customers. So let's say we do that measure and we find that our salespeople convert at 41.25%. All right. Then we can do the math to find that we need 1,680 leads in the time period, in order to get 693 customers, in order to have the 1,282 transactions at an average of $4,800 for average sale, in order to break even in our business. And again, this is the minimum targets that we set for our team, not what we're after, because we're after everything we can get after that. All right. So there's some quick math that you can use to start setting the targets and setting the level of activity that you need to do. And you can break these numbers down. If these are annual numbers, you can divide them by 12 and you get your monthly numbers. Or you can divide them by 52 and get your weekly numbers. Or you can divide them by the working days in the year to get your working daily numbers. Yeah, so you've got the visual here, and I want to encourage, you see the math. If this stuff is like, okay, you took good notes, you want to go do the math, perfect. If you took good notes, but you want a quick shortcut, well, we've got a spreadsheet that provides exactly, you can just enter your data points, you can get some of the notes on it and what you need, and it'll do some of the calculations to get you your annual, quarterly, weekly, daily numbers so that you know exactly what you got to do every day, every week, every quarter, every year in order to break even and then achieve the profit goals that you have. All right. So definitely, if you're interested in receiving that gift of a spreadsheet, a calculator, just let us know. It's an Excel file, and we'll get it over to you. Just comment below break even calculator, and my team will reach out and have that for you. Now, for
Awesome.
those of you who have made it this far, I have some bonus material for you. So thanks for sticking around. And at Synchronous Solutions, we take this math and we like to simplify it further. We like to give you even more structured metrics so that you can take some of the noise out of what you're doing in business. All right. So we do throughput accounting here at Synchronous Solutions. So I want to share with you break even from a throughput perspective and throughput accounting perspective. All right. We still need our total sales revenue. That's revenue dollars. Okay. We also need our totally variable expenses, which is very similar to the variable expenses. We focus more on the totally variable things. So the things that definitely do not change. And so that's where sometimes there's a deviation between what we're talking about when we're talking about gross margins and when we're talking about throughput. Okay. But when we take that revenue minus totally variable expenses, that is our throughput dollars. All right. Now, we also want to know our operating expenses. We want to calculate those. That's our OE dollars. And then we want to calculate a productivity score. Productivity is throughput divided by operating expense. And this is a great score to do for any time period that we have throughput coming through. And we know the rate at which operating expenses is out. And our productivity score is a snapshot of, are we being productive? And productive is, are we making money? All right, so let's put some numbers to it. Same numbers from the business above. We got 8 million in sales, 2.8 million in totally variable expenses. We do the math to get our throughput of 5.2 million. And then we know our operating expenses are 4 million. So in this particular example, our productivity score is a 1.3. This is a healthy 15% net profit for our business. All right, so this simplifies visually to look like this. We have our operating expenses, that's our red line. We have our throughput that we're tracking because we've taken that noise out, and we want our team focused on throughput because throughput varies for every job we do. And we want to be monitoring our rate at which throughput moves through our system, which is of course determined by the constraint of the system, which you can learn about in our other videos and other materials that we have out there. Would love to chat with you more on that. And if you're interested in reaching out to us and learning more about this throughput accounting that we teach, please put throughput into the comments below. Once you get break even, the idea of moving throughput faster through your system becomes the whole goal of what we do. How do we create great flow within our operations? How do we create great flow wherever we're getting bottlenecked, whether it's information that's not flowing, material that's not flowing? Ultimately, if those things aren't flowing, money's not flowing. Well, we need money to flow faster so that we can make more of it and we can do more productive things with our day. It's all about focusing on what's productive. And so you have a dial, and the better you are at achieving octane, which is our throughput rate metric, You can learn more about that if you reach out. The more you can move this dial to the left so that you have more time to make more profits in the given day, week, month, or year that we're focused on. All right. So that is break even from a throughput perspective. Again, it simplifies a lot of the noise and allows you to focus exactly where you need to focus to achieve the goal of business, which is to make money now and in the future. So hopefully you guys got great notes out of today. We'll see you soon with the next one. Reach out, let's talk, let's play the game of business and go out there and get big wins in this coming year. Cheers.